Hello, everyone. I'm Anna Waters. I'm an editorial fellow at AtlanticLIVE, which is the live events division of The Atlantic. I hope you all had a lovely morning. Last year, The Atlantic published a cover story by Jean Twenge called "Have Smartphones Destroyed a Generation?" The piece led to much conversation about how technology has impacted the lives of young people. Today, we'll hear from some members of that generation themselves. 3 high school students will debate whether smartphones have ruined their own generation. As a former debater and coach myself, I'm so excited to hear what they have to say. They are the experts, the only ones who actually know what it's like to grow up in today's connected world. So to kick things off, please join me in welcoming Mike Wasserman, the director of the Boston Debate League.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. We believe in debate. We believe in interactive activities here. So I think this is a very appropriate topic. Looking out, I see the number of people with their smartphone in their hand. So obviously, this is something that is real in our lives every day. I will be brief. I just wanted to quickly say hello. Thank you all for being here and share a bit about the Boston Debate League. But then, as is our core purpose, I will turn it over so that students are leading the conversation. But as Anna said, I'm the executive director here at the Boston Debate League. We're a 12-year-old organization, and our mission is fairly simple. Our mission is about understanding that education and educational spaces at their core are more powerful, are more effective, are more just when students are leading conversations. And that when you think of a traditional classroom, or when you think about a traditional learning space where a teacher is standing and delivering, we know that doesn't work. In colleges, in workplaces, we build settings that look very different than that are much more collaborative, that are much more about groups of people diving into evidence and reasoning and critical thinking. And yet, for some reason, for 100 years, we have not made that leap in educational spaces. And so the Boston Debate League is about making that happen. We do that with several different programs. We work with teachers in classrooms, in buildings, to transform what learning looks like so that students are doing heavy lifting and that we recognize the brilliance that they bring and create spaces that allow them to strengthen that. But we also run, as our namesake suggests, after-school debate leagues where middle and high school students across the city of Boston and beyond have a chance to wrestle with real-world policy issues, real-world topics, where they're researching, writing, thinking about, debating about those topics. And so this year, there are about 1,000 students across the greater Boston area, across about 45 schools, that will spend the year with us debating, researching about immigration policy, about the federal government's role in that. Last year, we were talking about education policy. So these are not insubstantial pieces of our daily lives. But we also try to be at events like this because, as is very true with our mission, not just in classrooms, but in a lot of spaces in society, we leave out student voice, and we don't create the opportunities for young people to be leading conversations. And so when folks like The Atlantic say, we'd love for you to be a part of this, we always say yes, because the reality is that if we're talking about whether smartphones are destroying a generation or the pluses and minuses, if you don't ask young people from that generation, then something is lost in that conversation. So that's who we are, just a bit about debate itself. The form of debate that the 3 young women here and the 1,000 students beyond this room participate in is a very rigorous, very evidence-driven form of debate called policy debate. If we were sitting here for a typical debate round, it would be about an hour and a half long. Students would each have a chance to speak for about 20 minutes or so and would have a stack of evidence about this high. So it is a very academically rigorous and a very engaging activity. This is obviously a very shortened version of that. So we just wanted you to know that this the form of debate that we've created for events like this is really kind of we've made it up to be something more of a discussion starter, and is really only a sample of the deep work that the three students here do in their daily lives. And so with that, what we're going to do today is we're going to have three debaters here, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves in a moment. But the topic that we are talking about here is whether smartphones, in fact, are destroying a generation, or are they bad? Are they, as a net, bad for this generation? And so we were going to have a debater arguing for that. We're going to have a debater arguing against that. And then we're going to have a debater that's serving as something of a inquisitor in Greek chorus that asks questions, that does some cross-examination for each of the points to just kind of poke and expand on those ideas. The debate itself will be about 20 minutes, and then we'll have some time at the end for a Q&A, and I hope you all think about some questions and really engage in this, talking about both the topic at hand, but also we can talk about debate or anything you guys are interested in. We'll be here for that. So with that, I would ask each of you, I'll start with Asia, to just quickly introduce yourself, the school you go to, how long you've been debating.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asia. I have been debating for 4 years now. I'm a senior. Woo. I go to Boston Community Leadership Academy in Hyde Park.
Hello, my name is Zara Mercer, and I go to the Henderson. I'm in 9th grade. I've been debating since last year. I'm doing junior varsity, and I'm a freshman this year.
Oh, hello, everyone. My name is Catherine, and I go to Margarita Muñiz Academy. I'm an incoming junior, and I've been debating around 2 years.
So with that, I am going to turn it over. You guys can choose to give your speeches up here on the podium if you'd like, or there. And I will come back up for the Q&A at the end. But thank you all again for having us, and let the debate commence.
I'm ready when you are. Huh?
Tell me when to start.
Yeah. Starting now. Smartphones contain a tremendous power. It's called control. Control over your life, control over your sleep, and control over your emotions. Teenagers connect with their phone more than they do with people. Smartphones change the routine of normal teenagers day to day, causing mental health. For example, depression and suicide rates have increased. Teens are less likely to date. Childhood is concentrating within high schools, acting few years. It starts at children, like babies, children at a young age with smartphones without having enough knowledge and how to properly use it. The dangers of having smartphones is that it's reduced concentration. According to the Guardian article, a study of science distraction found that an office worker was distracted, and it took them to an average of 25 minutes to refocus on the original task at hand. That's what makes students doing their homework with their mobile phones nearby so problematic. It is a myth to most people can multitask, and in truth, that it takes up a lot of time, energy, and effort. Another, the way you can compare how smartphones have made such a major effect in today's generation is that if you compare it to the past, that students were able to play outside, play kickball, go to the movies, hang out with their friends face to face. People were not always worried about what's the new thing online. And but today, teens are not just spending as much time as their friends in person. They can't really, when you texting your friend, you can't really see their emotions, which is problematic. Also, as we know, lots of research, as we know from lots and lots of research, that spending time with people in person is one of the best things for psychological well-being, and it's also one of the best protections against having mental health issues. Another way that shows smartphones also being bad, for example, in This Is America video by Childish Gambino, and the part that he was dancing with the kids. The artists and school children danced throughout the visual with huge smiles on their faces dancing, and how it was talking about how it symbolizes the fascination of social media and entertainment and chaos, and it distracts us from the chaos that's happening surrounding us in the big world. And it was almost like him in a way not making fun of kids today, but in a way that's saying like, this is what you guys do. And also in the video he talks about like the kids above when they're just recording things and not actually making the impact. Like you're seeing they're recording the problem, but you're not doing nothing about it, which is why smartphones are bad, because they distract us from, again, our surroundings. Also, students are less likely, when you have a smartphone, you are so focused on your phone, you're not really focusing on, like, for example, if you have to go to bed, you're just staying up all night, which is an impact when you wake up in the morning, you end up being tired, you're being less engaged with the world. It also causes educational problems because, again, you're less engaged in school, you're not reading as well, and it causes a lot of distraction to damage, like, it causes damage to attention. And also, it also causes ADHD symptoms. There's also problems with students because with teenagers, when they always go on their phones, they end up talking to child predators. Also because of this, there's less awareness and with child predators, they not really know who they're talking to, like young kids. Also, there's a major thing with smartphones, like with bullying. Students are always constantly bullied by online. They're so focused online. They're not focused like on how to like not pay attention on their phones and go out to the real world and actually do real things. They're just always being bullied. And yeah, that's my time. Ready? Okay. You have your turn.
Yeah. So my first question is, are social media companies such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube also responsible for the negative effects on smartphones?
Sorry, can you elaborate on the question?
So my question is about like social media companies, right?
Yeah.
If they're also responsible or they're also contributing to the negative effects on smartphones.
Yes, because students are so focused on what's the new like trend on Facebook, the dance videos. They're so focused on things like what's the new like outfit thing, like everyone's like into like shoes, clothes, makeup. They're not really focused on what's happening outside in the real world. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you?
No, the thing's not working.
Do you have another question?
Oh, sorry, no.
No. Okay.
I'm ready.
So next speech.
Ready? Starting. Yeah. Smartphones and social media are creating a big impact on adolescents and teens. But don't be alarmed, because it's a good impact that could help not just themselves, but even everybody around them. With these tools, they're not just able to text and call people, but they're able to spread their message across the whole entire world. With the power of social media, kids can now spread awareness about things they care about or promote a business in just a few clicks and swipes of their fingers. With social media, people are more connected and tend to find people that relate to them and have similar problems as them, such as mental illness or depression. And they can also find online counseling. Nowadays, there are apps like Talkspace that can help people who just need someone to talk to or people who need a counselor but are just too afraid to face someone face-to-face. Social media is connecting people with illness by Olivia Wills, updated February 26, 2018. People who suffer from serious mental illness tend to be very isolated, and many of us have to live in more rural or remote locations simply because we can't afford to live in a city. Enables us to connect with other peers in a fairly safe environment that's actually quite hard to do. With social media, people are now able to find some kind of comfort in talking to other people instead of the anxiety they normally get when they see people face to face. And also kind of like a free counseling. Not everybody can afford it, but we can afford to have a phone and online and the internet as well. So if we have those things, why not just use it to our benefit? Child predators aren't just on social media. They're also in the real world. In your life span, you can walk by 36 to 10.76 unapprehended murders. How do you know that the people you're walking by aren't a child predator? Because you don't know what people do in their lifetime. You can't really look through their eyes and see what they're thinking. Social media doesn't cause concentration disorders in school. If anything, peers are causing us to lose focus. Anything from the range of how someone speaks or the noise someone's making can make us lose focus, not just on our phones. I know in my school, from grades 5 to 8, they take away our phones when you walk in and they give you your phone back before you leave. But we're still distracted because our friends maybe make a joke in the middle of a lecture and we just start laughing, or someone else does something funny like trip or something. We're distracted, not just our phones, like this things all around, maybe a bird flying by or maybe just daydreaming. Less awareness and concentration in real-world issues. 6-Way Social Media is Changing World by Alexandra Gomez and Fredra Visa, April 7, 2016. From Facebook's Safety Check, which allows users in disaster zones to mark themselves as safe, to the rise of the Crisis Mappers Network, we've seen many examples of how social media and digital communications are helping respond to disasters. Digital responders can immediately log on when news breaks about a natural disaster or human-created catastrophe. Individuals and teams are activated based on skill sets of volunteer and technological communications. These digital responses use their time and technological skills, as well as their personal networks, in an attempt to help manage information overload or formal humanitarian aid in the field. If anything, cell phones are just helping people to find if their family is okay. For instance, in Hawaii, the natural disaster with the hurricanes, say I had a family member in Hawaii and I had Facebook, and I want to see if they're okay, and they also have Facebook as well. I can easily go on Facebook and see if they check mark saying that they're okay or not, because some of the cell towers were down there, so you wouldn't be able to call them, but the internet is everywhere. It's wireless. It's really easy to access just like that. The positive effects of social media on teenagers by Roland Trifecta. 68% of teenagers claim that social media provides them with support during difficult times. 46% of teenage girls agree that social media empowers them to speak out about the things they care about. 83% of teenagers say that social media makes them feel more connected to their friends. And in response to what she had said about the Childish Gambino video, the kids were up in the top with the phones. If anything, when they videotape it and they put it on social media, people all around the world could see what's going on in their community and what's going on and how people are being treated. And they could even write a message under, like a caption, talking about how they feel, and people can now go out and say how they feel. So everybody's more even connected than usual. That's all.
My first question is, how smartphones are keeping teenagers more aware of real issues in the world, and how they manage with fake news in social media?
Well, fake news is everywhere. Fake news is on the media, like your TV screens, it's on television. So really, it's about how credible the source is, but not really, because even news channels like ABC, they could be posting fake news and we not know it. So really, it's about how you really think about it and how they present it, really.
My second question is, are teenagers addicted to smartphones?
Say it again?
Addicted.
Well, honestly, anybody can be addicted to anything. You can be addicted to television, like watching YouTube. You can be addicted to watching birds fly. Anybody can be addicted to anything. So it's not really like about the phones itself. It's about how the person is themselves.
My third question is, so if we're saying like addiction can be anything, so what about how smartphones are keeping teenagers out of the real world? Like they spend most of the time in their phones. So how this is helping them?
Well, for instance, like sometimes I'll scroll through Twitter and I'll see something and it's like something that happened maybe all the way in Louisiana. Like something happened, like say, for instance, someone killed someone or someone hurt someone and they still can find them. People will say, oh, retweet this to help find this person, so they can be put to justice and stuff. So people would retweet it, and the more retweets, the closer they are to finding that person. Because if they see this person that the person that did the wrong thing knew them, they could easily call the police and say, I know who this person is right now. They're here and here and here. So if anything, for like social media, it can help to bring down suspects.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 1 minute.
Yeah. Ready? Set. Go. Okay, so as my opponent Zaira has stated about, for example, the Childish Gambino video, she says that still the students above are still recording the issues that happened today, today's problems. Again, even if it doesn't even have to be students, it could be adults as well. When you are still recording a problem on your smartphone and you're not doing nothing about it, that is also a problem. We're so addicted to what's on our phone, yet we're not doing things. That was the point of the Childish Gambino when he's saying that you're so focused. For example, when he was dancing through his video, we were so focused to his dancing, we weren't focused mainly on some of the key things. People had to watch his video over, I had to watch it 15 times just to catch every single thing in the background. So that's an example. We're so distracted, we're not open to our surroundings. Also, because of our smartphones, it's an increase in our procrastination. For example, procrastination is extremely common in students, so much that, for example, 75% of US college students consider themselves procrastinators. And it's when you procrastinate, oh, for example, I have homework, I'm gonna do it later, let me just text someone real quick, or let me, even when you're doing your homework, you're so stuck on your phone. Some people, when they listen to music, they're so stuck, changing the song, instead of, you changing the song 15 times, you could use that 15 times, those 2 minutes in doing your homework. It also increases stress because being over-reliant on your phone can be bad for a person's psychological health. Excessive use on mobile phones has, it causes, anxiety, irritation, frustration, and impatience, because, it's if you don't have your phone for at least 5 minutes, especially teenagers, they're oh my gosh, I need my phone. Or if they drop their phone, they go crazy. It's an addictive thing. And, also, that's why it's shown that 60% reported that they felt agitated when they can't have access to their phones. Also, when it comes to smartphones, it's not that as affirmative saying that oh, we need to get rid of smartphones for good, but we're saying that as teenagers, we need to reduce and how much we utilize our phones, because we're so caught we're not caught up again in the real world. We're not caught up with our friends physically, face to face. That's what causes us to be lonely. Being with your phone causes you to be lonely. Even when you're with your friends, you're still on your phone. If you're talking to someone, if you feel the conversation is awkward, you're kind of playing with your phone. People are so glued to their phone, they're not open to their surroundings. It's also adults as well. Also, again, with smartphones, when you tend to lose your sleep. It causes sleep. This also leads to depression, because you feel you always have to, because you're alone, because you are not with somebody, because your phone is your best friend, you're not really out there. Also, with your cell phone, it causes you to she talks about mental health issues. You can have access to counselors through online, and some people can't afford counselors. If you go to a high school, there's always a counselor there. You can definitely talk to someone. It's better to talk about your problems to somebody face to face, because you have that connection than you do on a phone. You can have emojis, but still that doesn't do a lot of things on the phone. Also, with the mental health issues, the only way a student can have those mental health issues fixed is if you're with somebody that you feel you can trust and talk to somebody. The best way you can talk to somebody is through face to face. It's never through your phone. Also, in my last 15 seconds, again, it's not the purpose. The whole purpose of the app is not to say get rid of smartphones. Is we need to students need to sit down and talk about how can we use our phones less in a way that is not taking over our lives. Thank you. You ready?
You ready? Now, I want to rebuttal what she had said earlier in her first speech about the teen pregnancy. teen pregnancy has decreased dramatically due to what teens have seen on TV, an example, Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant. Over 80% of teens who had watched the show said it really showed them the consequences, the hardship, and the difficulty of getting pregnant earlier. This pretty much shows them that it's not worth the struggle, and it's not really worth it, and it's just better to wait until like they're a grown adult and have like a degree and thing. Another thing is that she said when you're watching the Childish Gambino thing, said that people are so focused on the dancing. Well, not everybody focuses on the same thing. Everybody pays attention to different things. So maybe someone who's watching the first time may pay attention to the horses in the background or the people that are running around. So with me personally, I was kind of more attention to like the dancing, but I know one of my friends, the first thing they saw was the horses and people running around. So you can't really base one thing about everybody because everybody thinks and looks at things differently. And with procrastination, as she stated before, everybody procrastinates. Our parents procrastinated at some point. Our great-grandparents procrastinated. That's been around for like ever. And with stress, you can get stressed from anything, not just your phone. Like, I get stressed out just looking at homework. I always just don't want to do it. So really, it's like I procrastinate because I don't want to do the homework. That's the reason why like I tend to procrastinate, or because I'm like, oh, it's nice outside. Maybe I should go out there instead of doing my homework. Another thing, which is that people drop their phone and go crazy. I can't do that too, because like it's your phone. You paid so much money for that, and you're just gonna drop it, and like if it breaks, you have to pay for a new one or fix the screen. And sometimes fixing the screen is not worth it because it may cost more. It's better just to buy a new phone. So I feel like just dropping something in general, you're gonna go crazy over dropping because you don't want it to break, right? Another thing is tend to lose sleep. Well, there's like a setting on your phone where you could turn down like the brightness, so that can, like with me, when I use my phone, I tend to fall asleep when I'm at bed, so I just be on it and I just fall asleep. So I feel like for some people that may be the same thing, because like they have the setting where you can turn off like the redness off of it, so it's easy on your eyes, so you could fall asleep. And like night mode, for instance, as well. And she said that like not having your phone may lead to depression. Honestly, anything could lead to depression. Like I remember one time there was like a trend going around where the mothers were like breaking their kids' Xboxes. Like that, for instance, that could lead to depression. Like homework can lead to depression. Like honestly, just breaking a nail can lead to depression. And with like the high school like counselor she was talking about, not everybody's comfortable talking to someone face to face. Some people are just more shy and closed off and prefer to talk to someone online. And high school counselors sometimes they don't really help people. They may just tell them, you're fine, you're okay, just walk it off, drink some water. But with like the online one, it's just a small fee, maybe $5 or $10, and you can talk or call or text that person whenever you want. You don't have to schedule an appointment like a high school counselor. With the online, you need to be like text your counselor and be like, oh, I'm not feeling so good. Is there any way, like anything that you think that could help me right now? And for instance, and she said that that I feel like when she said that we could use our phones less, I kind of agree with you on that point. We could maybe use our phones a little less, maybe go outside, take a walk around the block, read a book sometime. But like with your phone, just everything's there. Like for me, my mom always yelling at me, go read a book, go read a book. But I'm like, I read on my phone. She was like, you don't read on your phone. I'm like, that's what I do. It's easy. You just access any book you want online. Just snap of your finger. That's it.
So thank you all thank you three for diving into a kind of a quick snapshot of debate. And like I had said before, normally we will take about an hour and a half to go much deeper into these ideas. And so this ended up being a little bit of a kind of a brief taste of the debate format that we typically dive into, but hopefully was helpful as a way of talking about some of the thinking that you all have done and some of the research that you all have done. The limitation, the power of a debate is that you're forced throughout the activity to really take all sides of an issue. For instance, we just kind of stuck you each on a certain side or in a certain role in this debate and said, understand that in depth and now talk about it. But there's also power in talking about your own ideas on this. So we're going to have some time for questions. Before I open it up to everyone else, I just I'm curious for each of you, forget about what we asked you to, the points we asked you to argue, as a generation that's mostly come up with smartphones always being present. I mean, how do you see technology in your own lives, in education and family relationships? Is it something that you think is a net positive? Is it something where you think some of the things that are most impactful outweigh challenges? Asia, I'll start with you.
Before I came here, I was thinking about like smart. In some ways, I think phones are also a good thing. Like when she was talking about like how like you can record the things out there that you see that you can show to the world that people don't usually see. And I kind of agree with that because a lot of things that like happen, like real world problems right now, like it could be in the Black community, like immigration. Like I got to see things like, wow, like they won't show you this like regularly. So like that's why I think about like that's a good thing. I also think it's also problematic in some ways because like, again, we're so glued to our phones. We're not focused. Like, I remember when I first time ever went camping and I didn't have my phone and I was just like, I'm gonna lose my Snapchat streaks. Like, I was going crazy. But then at the same time, like, I got to see like the outside and I was like, wow, I look where I'm from. We don't do this a lot. So, like, there's also like good and bad things that come with it. I think smartphones are sometimes a good thing, but when it comes to like personal things, like always like kids like my age are so glued and like what's the new trend, dancing videos, like it's like you're not really paying attention to like things that's actually happening, which was what Childish Gambino was talking about with the students in the video. Yeah.
I agree with Asia. Like I remember at one point Musical.ly was like a big thing. Every second everybody's like, oh, we have to post a video on Musical.ly. Oh my gosh, we have to get Musical.ly every second. And like they weren't really focused on like schoolwork and stuff like that. And every second they're like, oh, hold on, I gotta post this on Snapchat. And it kind of takes away from the experience if you really think about it, because we may be doing something fun and all of a sudden someone's like, hold up, I gotta take a picture and post it on Snap. And then they take a picture and it's like, okay. And then like you don't get back into that mood. It's just like, oh, well, it's like you kind of just want to like kind of be closed off. But yeah, I kind of agree. Like some things you see on social media you don't see in your everyday life. And it's just like, wow, I can't believe stuff like this is actually going on, and yeah.
Well, I also agree with the Asia and Zaira, but I also thinking about like, for example, I got a phone at the age of 14, but now there are little kids who got a phone at the age of 8. I mean, those kids, I think they don't have enough knowledge about like how to use a smartphone properly. They don't actually have the, like sometimes parents, they give to their kids a smartphone or just a simple phone, but you know, they don't actually talk with them, explain to them like what are the consequences of doing, like, or how to actually use it without having any negative consequences, or how to actually use it without, you know, affect ourselves or everyday life. So when I think about smartphones, that's the first thing that came into my mind. Like sometimes kids, they get a smartphone at a young age and they don't really know how to use it. And there are also a lot of positive outcomes about having a smartphone or having technology access. For example, I myself use my phone for, say, search something on the internet that I might be wondering of. For example, a lot of people spend a lot of time like reading blogs about looking at this type of, about information, but sometimes it's more quicker to use just the internet or Google it, and that's easier sometimes. But sometimes we gotta be careful of how we manage our time in our phones, because sometimes it get addictive and we just want things to be just easier than the way we used to do stuff. So sometimes we have to think about are the things that I'm doing good or bad, or how this affecting my life, or how this is affecting my might develop as a teenager, because we gotta know like the teenage brain is very exposed to many different things in life, and we gotta know like there are us as teenagers who are actually learning everything that we experience in life. So yeah, I also think that there's negative outcomes and positive outcomes about technology.
Thank you. So audience, questions, either things you've heard. Yeah, question.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Google, and I would love to hear from each of you, are there things that you have tried personally just to manage your own screen time or use of your phone? Anything that's worked or hasn't worked?
For one thing, I'm a bad texter. Like, I'm really bad. Like, for example, like when I'm with my friends, like they usually be like, "You never text me back," like, because I'm like, I want space. Like, I see you every single day. Like, I don't need to text you at home too. So I feel like that's like a way of how I utilize my time at like on my phone. And like, I'm not the oldest in my family, but like I have siblings who are younger than me, so I like spending time with them. So I think that's also helps me not get glued to my phone. Sometimes on Snapchat, but you know, like yeah.
Well, really, I don't have like a method. Sometimes I just like to you have a front porch, and so I like to just sit down on the front porch and just look out to see who's walking by. I just sit down, relax in nice cool air because it's gonna be really cold soon. So I'm like just enjoy it while it lasts, or I just go and watch TV. Really.
So for me, I am the oldest, so I have little siblings. So sometimes, so it's good. It's good for me to spend more time with them because it's like because I'm the oldest, just giving them an example of how I behave, and it's just good for them to see me how I do. But also sometimes it's just for you know, like me. I sometimes when I'm in school and I got a lot of homework, I gotta, you know, I have all these things to do. But sometimes when I spend my time with my little brother or my little sister, it's just like me relaxing and, you know, like be in a good time with spending a good time with my family also, because it helps you, or you know, relax, or helps you you know, to take your time and and just not to be too stressed about some things that for example homework. And yeah, that just helps me like to relax more and, you know, to enjoy life, because it's not just about doing work, but it's also about like take a little bit of your time to enjoy life and, you know, enjoy your family and the things that you do in every day. Yeah.
Great. Other question here, or sorry, question back there.
My name is Al, and I'm with the Voice Library, and I have a question first to the moderator, but more importantly to you three young women. Great job. Really, really great job. I know how difficult that is to be up there in front of people you don't know. First question is soft skill development. One of the concerns for me is watching this in the process. In the process, do you have these debates? Do you do any soft skill development with students so that they're not on their computer and standing up at a podium? And the second question is, do you see a reduction in young men involved in your debate process?
Yeah, great question. So, and I can let you guys speak to this a little bit too. I mean, in the, you know, the reasons that we believe in the activity of debate in its more kind of structured form, which this is a somewhat approximation for, and in its more deconstructed form in, say, a classroom setting, is that it does push you to build some soft skills that I think traditional education doesn't allow for, right? I think traditional education is about the kind of filling up of knowledge, and one of the things that, you know, Katerine, you're talking about is that knowledge is a commodity now. You can find that on your phone. And so really what matters is more skill development, whether it's confidence or critical thinking, analytical skills, problem solving. And so we do believe that debate is a core piece of that. it's an interesting question about how technology plays a role in debate, because actually in a kind of the national competitive debate space, everything is in computers now, whereas 20 years ago people would have these giant tubs of information. And so there's kind of a balance that we try to walk. I know you guys all do. Asia's in kind of the more competitive part of our debate space, where there's a kind of the public speaking skill, but there's also this equity issue around providing the technology solutions to be competitive. So I think we try to walk that balance. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that, on kind of the pluses and minuses of kind of public speaking and some of those soft skills for debate.
I don't know if this is answering your question, but like, especially like varsity, like higher varsity debaters, like I just recently came from like one of the best camps in the country, Wake Forest University's debate camp. And like when I was there, like so many people were like on their like phones and laptops. And like I'm used to debating on my laptop, but also not. Like my partner and I, like especially my partner, she's not here, but she loves debating on paper. She hates computers. Like she's like, no. Like seeing how like everyone's like, I don't want to see how they're glued to their laptop and how like, but they're so used to like the like technology of their laptops and not really focusing on just the main arguments. Just saying that just because like we debaters, we do a lot of research. That's why we depend on our phones or depend on our computers. Like, we're always on Google. We're always like looking up these like professors and doing all these things. But like people like me, like I try not to use too much of the laptop because I do use research, but when it comes to debating on the laptop, I hate sometimes doing it because I end up like being reliable. Like I rely on it instead of just me engaging, for example, with the judge. I like to look at the judge because like you engage more face to face than you do just reading off the laptop. So I don't know.
So we have time for just one more question.
Okay, I'm Maylee, also from Google. We're just full of questions for young people. I think it was Zaira, you said something that really stood out to me about your mom was telling you to read a book, and you're like, I am on my phone. Because I have an 18-year-old brother who, like, I think the number one thing he says to me is, you're old and you don't get it. And so I was just wondering if there's like one thing for each of you that you really wish people older than you understood about sort of the value that technology provides in your life, or how it can be annoying or frustrating. Just something you're like, I really wish that you could understand X about when I engage with technology.
So as you'll see, we have about a minute left, so I'll give you guys each 20 seconds to give an answer to that.
Well, I'd really like if she understood that everything's on the internet nowadays, so you don't really, so any book you find in real life, you can probably find an e-version of it. You can go on the Amazon Kindle and just read. Like, she doesn't understand that really. She's always like, oh, I don't see you reading the book. I always see you on your phone. But I'm like, I'm reading a book on my phone.
For myself, I always do my homework on my computer, Google Classroom. So when I do a lot of essays or research, I always use my computer. So, yeah.
The last seconds, but I'm same thing with both of them. Like if I'm on my phone, I'm usually doing research or like everything again is on the internet, so you have to utilize the technology to do that. I like reading on my phone too, actually. So it's like you have to have sometimes technology to help you do that.
So we're out of time for questions. I would be remiss if I didn't at least put in a quick plug that obviously we're all here from the Boston Debate League, and this is kind of a little quick extension of the work that we do. But over the course of the year, these three young women and like I said, 1,000 other students are digging deep into real-world issues. And so if folks are ever interested in coming out and seeing what a full debate looks like, we have debate tournaments twice a month throughout the school year. And so we're always looking for folks to come and serve as community judges or as volunteers or to watch those debates happening. And you really get a chance to learn a lot. This year we're debating about immigration policy, but also be a part of this kind of ongoing dialogue-based education space. So bostondebate.org is a place that you can learn that. You can ask any of us, students, myself, Alex Papagno, who leads all of our community efforts. We are all here and happy to answer questions. But mostly I just want to say thank you all. Thanks to the Atlantic for including us and including student voice in this day. Thanks to the debaters for joining us on the day before school starts. And enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you so much for that wonderful debate, Zaira, Catherine, and Asia. We so appreciate the work you guys put into bringing this all together. And Mike, of course, thank you so much for bringing them to this stage. We love working with you guys. And we hope that all of you enjoyed learning more about what some members of the youngest generation think about their own technology use. The program is going to continue here in this room, so you can stay here. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.